Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
Today, we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video about paying your bills, a book about the babysitters dealing with the choice of creative art or running a business, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Toni Kaufman.
Hey, Tiberius, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited.
No problem. And Toni's a casting director, IT trainer for former President Bush, corporate trainer, and creator of the Standout Star Speak of Kindness Summit.
And we've had you speaking on that as well.
That's true.
Thank you. It truly was a Standout Stars experience. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Well, today we're going to start off with a video of the week, and this is going to be some spending.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
And now it's time for the video game of the week. Today's video game is Spent. This game is about Next Gen Personal Finance. This is a website that teaches you about personal finance. You can find it at ngpf.org and click on the arcade button.
I like that. And you know what? All of us need to learn about finance. Now, is this kind of a video game for kids or for adults as well?
For kids and adults.
All right. I think I'm going to order it. Tell me
You
more.
don't have to order, it's online. Well, so you start the game and they teach you how to play, but I'll give you a shorter version. You are an adult that only has $1,000 and has a child. Can you make it through the month? Next, you have to find a job there, and there are 3 choices: second shift, office temp, or a restaurant. I picked the office temp because it was the most highest paying job. Then you have to get health insurance. I get the bronze plan because I don't have that much money. Next, you have to find a place to live, going from $680 to $800. Remember, you only have $1,000 to spend.
Yeah, you probably want to keep that around 30% of your income at the most, right? Okay.
I do the 681.
Yeah.
Next, you have to do some stuff about your apartment because you do not have enough space. So I have a yard sale, or you can rent a storage unit and ask a friend to store it. So I made $150 back because I had a yard sale. Next, you live out through life, getting paydays every 7 days, and earning or losing money. I got my dad to play it, and he was very good at it. He, at the end, saved $200 extra, which is not enough for rent, which I always saved enough for rent.
I think you've got a great future coming in there, T-Boy.
Thank you. I give Spent 10 out of 10 stars because I really like this game because of its complex decision making and confusing statements sometimes.
But you know what? Life is confusing sometimes.
That's true. And now it's time for the book of the week, The Babysitters Club, Claudia and the New Girl. This book is written by Anne Martin. Let me read the back of the book. In fact, Toni, would you like to do the honors?
I'd be honored, sir. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Claudia has always been the most creative kid in her class until she meets Ashley Wythe. Now, Ashley is the most fantastic artist Claudia has ever met. And Ashley thinks Claudia is wasting her artistic talent with the Babysitters Club. So, when Claudia starts to miss business meetings, it becomes clear that Claudia has to make a decision, and one of them has to go.
Well, this is an neighborhood that's worth 1 whole point. It's rated for 3rd grade and 2nd month. That is not a lot of points because it's a graphic novel, but the subject matter is made for teens.
I like it.
Okay, so in book 9 of the Babysitters Club, we start off with Claudia in her English class. Then Mrs. Hall, the teacher, asked her to pay attention in class while she was doodling around. Also, a new girl is going to the school, and her name is Ashley. They had a lot of classes together, and because of that, they're great friends. Next, in art class, Claudia was surprised that Ashley is in that class, and other than that, there's an art competition at a gallery. So they went outside after school to look for some ideas. Then Claudia's late for the Babysitters Club meeting, while looking for objects to sculpt for the competition. Also, her friends from the Babysitters Club even trashed her place for being late so many times, but just because Ashley and Claudia were looking for inspiration. Next, something happens at the competition, but I can't tell you because I want you to read the book.
I think that's really sharp. They've got to read the book. But you know what? I'm really curious too. I think I'm going to get this third grade book.
Ooh. Well, I give the Babysitters Club Claudia and the New Girl 12 out of 10 stars because I really like it at the end. Ashley and Claudia are still friends, but Ashley has a lot more friends from the Babysitters Club now. And now it's time for our interview of an interesting person. Today, this is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Toni Kaufman. Toni is a casting director, IT trainer for former President Bush, corporate trainer, and creator of the Standout Stars Week of Kindness Summit.
There you go. I think you got it all in one sentence. That's pretty good.
Thank you. So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
I love it. Actually, I need to tell you guys, this is one of the most organized, most well-written show I think I've ever been on.
Thank you. Okay, so you really said so many jobs from a casting director to IT trainer. I gotta know, what got you started in doing your own business?
Well, I think I was raised in a family of entrepreneurs. And from what I understand, even my grandmother had her own pharmacy way back in the 1930s, 40s. And so my grandmother was an entrepreneur. My mom was an entrepreneur. I was raised in movie theaters and swimming pools. And my dad was an entrepreneur. He had an insurance office. So I guess it's just in the blood, Tiberius.
Huh. Well, did you always dream of running your own company?
It's funny because I never really saw myself as anything else. And one day I actually got hired, and you're going to laugh at me. I was about 50 years old, and I called my big sister and I said, guess what? And she says, what? And I said, I finally found a job. And she goes, well, it's about time.
Dang.
But I had been running my own companies since I started, since I was like 17, 18, 19.
Nice. Well, it says here that you were the IT trainer for President Bush. Does that mean that you showed him how to copy and paste?
Not only that, but spell check too.
Wow.
That's it was a delightful time, and it was a wonderful time. And my story usually starts off with, you never know who's watching, because when you do a good job at what you do, sometimes it gets around that you do a really good job. And so I was taken out to lunch one day by the chief technical officer of a big corporation, who's a friend of mine. And he says, Toni? And I said, yes, sir. And he says, I've been charged to find the best computer trainer in the nation to take care of bringing home President Bush. And so that was the transition team. So part of my job was to bring him home. And, home is Houston. So we took care of him. Now, this is HW. This is the daddy. It's not W, the junior. All right. And so that was my job, to take care of his office, set him up, set up his home, set up the library that was under construction. And then I got the privilege of being his personal computer trainer.
Wow. So what is the coolest part about working with the President of the United States? I hope to interview one day.
I'll tell you two quick stories. You ready?
Sure.
All right. So one day I'm sitting next to him, and, we only got like 10, 15 minutes at a time because he was so busy. So he would call me in. He said, okay, Toni, what's that button for? And he had a brand new laptop from Compaq Computer, right? And I would tell him what it was for. So I was teaching him something, and his phone rings one day. And so I said, I kind of stood there, right? And he says, hey, Charlie, no problem. We'll pick you up at the airport. We've already got you ready. We got a barbecue planned. You're going to have a great time. So I figured, this is a private conversation. I need to kind of leave the room. So I stand up and I walk around his desk, and he's talking to Charlie, and they're having a great conversation. And he sees me walking out the door and he says, "Toni, relax. It's just Prince Charles." That's the face I made. Just Prince Charles. Oh, sorry, Gabby, my Chihuahua just woke up. Sorry, I have a Chihuahua alarm, Tiberius. Have you ever seen one of those?
No, but it makes sense.
I'm sorry, I apologize. But you know what? That's half the fun of working from home, right?
That's true. You get to keep an eye on your dog.
Oh, God bless.
Make sure they don't tear the couch. Now, my dad said that you were a casting director for Family Feud. Steve Harper's on my dream interview list. Can you explain to my listeners what a casting director does?
Well, we were privileged to find the families that actually go on the game. Now, the most experienced, you've got to remember, the company is called Fremantle Media, which is a huge production company, and they've got branches all over the world. So the same TV shows that you see here in English also happen in Spanish, German, French, etc. So I handled the Spanish version of the show, which was, it was Family Feud, but it's called "Que dice la gente," which means what people say. All right. And so my job was to go from Texas to California, working together with Univision, sometimes Telemundo, sometimes Telefutura, whichever one of the stations was airing the show. And then we would have competitions, and we would actually go through families. Now, you're going to love this. Do you know how we actually played the game? Because we actually have them play the game so that I can see how the family works, right? Together. So we did the entire game on PowerPoint, and we took our little laptops and we put up the game, and every time we click on something, the little thing would turn, and my son, who was very young at that time, designed the entire game. He replicated it on PowerPoint for us. And so we had the music, we had the soundtrack, we had one family versus the other. Do you want to hear the secret of casting for Family Feud?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
There's 5 people in the family, right? The first one and the last one are the smartest in the family. They're the captains. Okay. They can carry it, they can get the right answer, or they can take care of the wrong answer at the end. They're the sharp ones. The second one is not so sharp, but very lovable. Okay, might get the answer wrong. The third one will pick up because it's a little bit smarter. So you get the 2 smartest, the not so bright, the kind of okay, maybe you'll get an answer right, but number 4, you want to know about number 4?
Yes.
That's the clown of the family. That's the one we can joke with. That's the one that, if you want them to drop their pants, that's probably the guy that's going to do it, right?
That makes a lot of sense. So now you run the Standout Stars Speakers Bureau. How long have you been running it?
It's been a couple of years now. And let me tell you, what was really interesting is that when I was, way back before you were ever thought of, in the 1970s and 80s, the whole concept of cable television came into play. And I was running a very small TV station. I was the program producer. So basically, it was my job to come up with about 5 hours of local origination programming per day. Because in order to get a federal communications license, you need to prove that your station was locally originated. So I created shows. I had kids doing a version of American Bandstand. Every Saturday morning for 3 hours, we would open the docks and open the bays and get 100 or 200 kids in there that would dance the Boogie Wonderland. That's what the show was called, Boogie Wonderland. So we would do stuff like that. Well, I had the lowriders. I had, because this was in South Texas, So we had a lowrider show. So like every Wednesday, we would open up the docks, they'd pull the cars in, and they would bounce around, and they would tell us all the stuff they did to make their car the absolute best, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
had lowrider shows, and we had children's shows, and I used to put a camera over my shoulder, and I'd be sitting down, and I would pick up a book similar to the book you're talking about, and I would be reading the book in English, but translating it off the top of my head into Spanish, so that we had the Spanish speaking kids able to look at an English book, and we would turn the page, but I would be translating the whole book on the fly. So
Wow.
we had quite a successful tour there, and you know what? That was the most favorite time of my life. My husband asked me one time when I was ready to leave the world of computers and being a geek and being a trainer, and I was kind of feeling sorry for myself, and I don't know what I'm doing, and he looked at me and he says, "Baby," and I said, "Yes, sir," and he says, "This is a gift." And I went, "What do you mean it's a gift? I've been laid off. I'm not working anymore. Blah, 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 blah." You know how parents do, right? And he says, "What would you do that you would do for free because you love doing it so much?" And my mind immediately went back to the 1970s and 80s when I was doing all the TV shows. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take off my producer hat, my casting director hat, and my director hat, and I'm going to help people who want to speak for a living, to have a speaking business. So whether they're emerging speakers, experienced speakers, or expert speakers, I want to play with them. I want to bring them up. I want to help them get their business. I want to help them be successful. And I want to help get them as many stages as I can and get their experiences out, because everybody has a story, right? And that's the key. Sharing that story with the rest of the folks in the world. Everyone has
Nice.
something good to say.
Okay. Well, can you explain to my listeners what is the Speakers Bureau and how does it make the world a better place?
So we've got a bunch of so let me give you the thought. The thought is that I take undiscovered experts from out of the shadows and into the spotlight, because I get a lot of calls from like attorneys and they usually say stuff like, "I've been speaking all my life, put me on a stage," and my thoughts are, "No, you're not quite ready yet." you know
Okay.
so just because you've been speaking all your life doesn't mean that you're a public speaker, doesn't mean you've got a cohesive thought, doesn't mean that you've got a call to action, doesn't mean that you are motivational or inspirational or educational. You hear educational speakers all day long on your classes, right?
That's true.
There's also the one that really counts if you're trying to open a speaking business, and that is the speak to sell speaker, the one that can actually sell what they do, their services, their programs, their products. That's kind of what you need to do if you're going to make this a business. So just because people speak doesn't mean they speak well. All right. So that's kind of where I lead them by the hand. I cast them into the roles that I see that they're perfect for. And then I
Okay.
show them how to become one of those speakers. And
That
then I
makes
have
sense.
friends of mine that get them ready for the TEDx stages. And once you do a TEDx stage, if you do a really good job, you'll get picked up by the TED stage. That's the big one, right? But in the meantime, there's thousands of stages. There's thousands of corporations, and this answers your question. Why do I want a speakers bureau? Because corporations, conventions, big stages, they pay speakers to speak,
Okay.
right? So my job is to get these folks in front of those folks and hopefully have a happy marriage where they hire my speakers to be like a talent agent, right? We hire them to be in the movie. We hire them to be in the play. We hire them to be on stage. That's
Okay.
how that works.
Well, what is the best part about running a Speakers Bureau?
The people. I
Okay.
love I love the people we work with. Once in a while you get a cuckoo client, but not often. For the most part, people really have a good heart. And that's what I love about the speakers, authors, healers, and coaches that I work with. They all want to make the difference. They all feel that their story can help someone else, whether it's dealing with overwhelm of finding out you've got cancer, or whether it's living a full life even though you just lost your husband or your wife,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it's, adopting 3 foster kids because you know what, that makes the world a better place. Every story that I hear makes me wonder. And Tiberius, that's one mission I'm going to give you for homework for the rest of your life. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Never lose your sense of wonder.
Okay. Now when does this due?
It keeps you young forever, forever young.
Okay.
And always live in kindness and gratitude.
Okay.
Because what you look for is what you find. And I look for kindness and gratitude. And guess what? I find it every day.
Okay. Now what is the hardest part about working with speakers?
Getting them to understand that they don't need to impress me. In other words, even though they're adults, Tiberius, you'll always find the person who is so insecure that they feel like they've got to just bowl you over with 1,000 things about them and who they know and what they see and blah blah blah, and you're already impressed. They're already in front of you. How boring would it be if I sat here and told you a list of everybody that I know and everything that I've done, and I'm like me, 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 me. The hardest thing to do is to get them to realize the best speakers in the world, you know what they do?
What?
They find out what the audience wants to hear about.
Now you host the Week of Kindness Summit. I remember I spoke last year with my dad during it. Can you tell my listeners exactly what this summit is all about?
It's all about, let's put it in a couple of categories. It's all about people sharing that story I was talking about with everybody else, and hopefully creating and giving gifts. So we have a gift giveaway. We have a summit, which means a lot of information coming at you fast. But more important than anything, you get to meet, 100 new people that you never thought you'd ever meet. And I've handpicked them to speak on there.
Wow. So when is your next summit?
We just had one. It went January the 22nd through the 25th. And guess what? The next one is going to be the week of Father's Day, because we love honoring the men in our lives that we love. So the next one coming up is in June of 2023.
I forgot about the Father's Day. Well, if you can think of one thing that would make your job easier or better, what would it be?
Oh, a wonderful team and some more equipment. There you go.
Okay. Well, what is the craziest situation that you've run into while working with speakers?
Oh, getting them to be brief. Aren't you having that problem with me? Okay. Yeah. Getting them to be brief, to get to the point so that we can go to the next one. Exactly.
Okay. So what advice would you want to give to my listeners if they wanted to grow up and run their own speakers bureau and summits?
First, you got to have a market. It's just like any other business. You find out whether or not it's possible. The second thing is you find out whether or not they're willing to pay you to get speakers. The corporations, the conferences, the convenient, the conventions. And then, of course, finding the right mix between the client and the type of speaker that they want, and that they have the right message. So promoting our speakers is very important. Getting them on the right stages, getting their pictures out, getting their videos out, getting their electronic press kits out. That's important.
Okay. So now, do you have any tips or ideas that would make my show better or maybe help me be a better speaker?
Yes. Enunciate clearer. You've got a lot of messages coming, and sometimes you kind of garble the words one to the other. So when you're actually asking a question, I'm going to give you a secret. You ready for this? You grab a pencil or a pen before your show. Before your show starts, you grab a pencil or a pen and you put it in your mouth. And then you talk and you read one whole paragraph with this in your mouth. Because the moment you take it off, your muscles relax and you calm down. And now you can speak clearly. That's an old reporter's secret.
Whoa.
Yep. We used to do that when we did the
Really?
news. Uh-huh. Even worse, when you
Huh.
do the news in Spanish, you've got to do that. You know why?
Oh.
You know why? Because I can talk in English all day long and not open my teeth. Did you see that?
Yeah.
In Spanish, no hay ninguna manera que puedes hacer eso sin abrir los dientes. You can't do that without opening your jaws or your teeth.
That's true.
That's the difference.
Huh.
But doing that little exercise will loosen your jaw, get you speaking. Every word will be clear.
Huh. So since you did so many jobs, which is the most rewarding?
The most rewarding job I've ever had in my life is
Mm-hmm.
being a mom, is taking care of 4 crazy babies. One girl, 3 boys. And now I've got
Okay.
a bunch of grandkids, so I'm having a lot of fun with them. But that's the most important thing is your family. And I'm guilty of working too much and not spending enough time with
But
them.
what
And
about your dog? Isn't that your
oh,
baby?
Gabby, she's so bad. She's a rescue. She's a rescue, and I don't know what happened to her when she was. But she's a tiny little white, light bulb head, the little chihuahuas. But I don't even need a leash on her. When we go out walking, she stays
Wow.
by my feet no matter what. She's not going to go anywhere else. I just love that. She picked me
Nice.
actually. She adopted me.
That's funny. Now, I know that you've had a lot of famous people. Who is the one person that you would like to meet and why?
You know what? He's on my bucket list. Christopher Walken. I want a dance with Christopher Walken.
Is it because his last name is Walken?
No, it's because I find him absolutely fascinating and I love his movies and I think he's a nut and I think we could laugh for hours.
Okay. So, what is the greatest challenge that most speakers are dealing with today?
The greatest challenge most speakers are oh my god, it's overwhelm. It's interruptions. It's not no ability to focus. I mean, everywhere you turn, you've got more input. We are suffering from serious input. Okay. And now they're saying that how they used to make fun of the goldfish, that it would swim to one side of the goldfish bowl and then it would turn around and say, "Hey, I've never been over there before," and then it would swim to the other side and then it would turn around and say, "Hey, I've never been over there before," so it swims to the other. Well, humans are like that right now with your phone, with
That's
your
true.
messenger, with your
It's like,
Facebook, with
hold
your
up. I haven't texted this person about 3 hours. I gotta text him.
exactly. It's the squirrel moments that are hard to deal with.
Oh yeah. Text
Squirrel.
squirrel. What is that one piece of advice that you think a speaker should not do?
Brag.
That, and I think one other thing. Squirrel.
Squirrel. You got it.
That and that. Those two.
Stay
Probably
on
not.
topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay on topic. It's hard to do.
Yeah. So, what message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
Everybody has a story, and everything that you go through in life is meant to teach you something. Whether it's good or bad, it's going to teach you something. Keep a journal, keep your notes, because either you are going to find that book 10 years from now and go, wow, that was a lot of fun. I remember that. And not
Yeah.
only that, but your kids and your grandkids are going to love reading this,
So,
unless
what
you're
was
really
the
boring.
biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Oh, well, that's a great question. But probably the biggest mistake I made was getting married at 19, not ready. And I hate to say it's the biggest mistake because I got 2 kids out of that are absolutely wonderful kids. So I can't say it was a mistake, but I can say that I should have been smarter. So don't do what I did.
Alright. So, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show, but the one story, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Oh, probably in high school. I was very active. I drove a race car. I raised a steer for the livestock show. I did nothing at home. I swam 50 miles. I was a synchronized swimming. That's the water ballet. Um, I I guess I used to skip so much school that I actually took 2 classes on the same hour and I passed both of them. So don't do that. There you go.
Whoa.
Is that a bad one?
That's surprising.
So
I mean, if it's a Wednesday, I could do that because my classes are like 30 minutes long on Wednesdays.
yeah.
But yeah, it'd be an hour and 3 minutes because we have 3 minutes to get from class to class.
Yeah.
It's annoying if I have to go to the
different
bathroom.
back then. Yeah, we're talking about the 70s. So the early 70s. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
I love life. You know, I'm going to be in a couple months. I'm going to be 68 years old, and I really what's really weird is I remember I lost my dad when I was 20, and I was a daddy's girl. So what I remember the most is that time doesn't go by. I mean, I feel like it was yesterday. I remember things like it was just yesterday, and it was almost 50 years ago. The great moments in life, the ones that make you lose your breath, they take your breath away. May you have a lot of those.
Okay. Well, do you have a Facebook or website for my listeners that want to follow you?
Sure, my Facebook is Toni, Toni, but my personal Facebook has my maiden name, which is Munoz, Munoz. And it's Toni Munoz Kaufman. So there you go. Just come on over. And Toni, Toni, Munoz is Munoz, and then Kaufman. And I'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Toni, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
You bet.
Sweet.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
Thank you so much, Toni, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, brought in some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve.
Excellent. I'm not good at math. I liked English and history, but let's play.
Okay. Today, we're going to talk about school fundraising. So, for a school fundraiser, Tammy needs to sell 24 candles. So far, she has sold 5 candles to her grandmother, 7 candles to her uncle, and 2 candles to a neighbor. How many more candles does Tammy need to sell? Well, first is a real world problem because we do know that schools always want to do fundraising and have kids sell random stuff to their families.
That's so true. So let's see. And she sold 7 and 5. That's 12. So that's half of 24. So that leaves her 12. But then she sold 2 more. So she's got 10 left.
That is correct. But to solve this issue, you have to start finding the total amount that she has already sold and subtract that from how many total she needs to sell. So 5 and 2 is 7, and 7 more is 14. Now we just subtract the 14 from the 24, and then we get 10. 10 candles are left to be sold. That's a lot of candles. So, Toni, did you have to sell random items to your family when you were in school?
Oh my gosh. We sold peace signs made of plastic. We sold flower seeds. We sold, oh my God, we had some. Well, I went to Catholic school, so you're always selling stuff.
Oh, yeah. I go to a Christian school, and we're doing some random stuff in 5th grade. Can't wait for 5th grade or 5th grade stores, because then we get to buy stuff.
That's true.
Because I'm in 6th grade now. So now, Toni, my teacher said that I would use math every day. Do you use math in your work?
Absolutely. And you know, every time when I talk to people, I try to find out. A lot of people don't know how much to charge for their stuff. So one of my exercises is, okay, so how much do you want to make a year? And then let's take that and divide it by how many hours you can work the year. And then let's find out, oh, by the way, you're worth $50 an hour. And I show them how to do that.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Toni, for your help with Math Corners.
My pleasure. I'm glad I got it right.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
And now it's time for the heart of a lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the heart of a lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and ability. This week, we're going to talk about leadership. For me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. The qualities of leadership are providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. So I saw leadership with my coach. I joined a bowling tournament, and my coach set up days for us to practice so we could work around our schedules. We practice every week for the Baker tournament. This is where a single game is shared by an entire team, so it takes a lot of work to figure out who should go after whom to ensure the highest score possible. Not only did she do a great job of getting us ready for the event, she was able to adjust things as it was happening. We did very well and got to the top seat for the double elimination tournament while qualifying. We made it all the way to the final match, and I only had one frame for that final match, and it was a strike. And we got the first place award, and we are now seeded to go to the Nationals in Indianapolis and Indiana in July 13th.
Congratulations. That sounds amazing. What a great memory.
Thank you. My coach provided guidance and direction and always motivated us when we missed a shot.
I like that. That's a good coach.
So, Toni, did you see or use leadership at all this week?
You know what? I use it every day, Tiberius. You know what makes a good leader great? It's not that you take all the credit for everything that you do. It's that you show others how to do what you do and give them the credit where they deserve it. So a good leader creates other leaders.
Okay. So, of all of the heart of a lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
Integrity is really important. I mean, ability is always there. Everybody needs a certain amount of ability to do different things. But integrity is something that can't be taken away from you if you're for real. You know, if you're just trying to make a sale all the time, that's not integrity. That's you being selfish.
Yeah.
But if you're actually giving value when somebody asks for help, or when you meet someone and you say, how can I help you? Or how can I serve you in the conversation? That's a leader.
Well, we should always try and be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Yes, sir.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Toni Kaufman for being on my show. It has been so much on topic today. I think we learned a lot about so many different jobs in your speaker summit.
Thank you. I had fun. I had a blast.
No problem. And do you mind giving your social media / website again?
Standoutstars.com. That's
Sweet.
as hard as it gets.
Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and subscribe. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show. Their host, Tiberius Boy. That's a wrap.